Emotional detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the absence of dependency. Most people believe the opposite. They believe that if something does not hurt when it leaves, it never mattered. That belief keeps them chained to people, outcomes, and approval they never needed in the first place. The moment someone can walk away and shake something loose inside you, that person already owns a piece of your mind. Not because they earned it. Because you handed it to them, quietly, one small attachment at a time. Today we are talking about the one skill that separates a controlled mind from an uncontrollable one. We call it detachment. And by the end of this, you will understand exactly why the calmest person in the room is usually the most dangerous one. Here is the lie you were taught. You were taught that deep love, deep loyalty, and deep connection require deep attachment. That the more something can hurt you, the more real it must be. Society sells this as romantic. Poets built entire careers on it. Movies end with grand declarations of need, and audiences call it beautiful. The reality is colder and far more useful. Attachment is not proof of love. Attachment is a form of dependency wearing a beautiful disguise. When your peace depends on someone staying, replying, approving, or agreeing, you are not in love with them. You are addicted to the outcome they provide. A person who is truly secure does not need constant reassurance that they are valued. They already know their own worth, independent of anyone else's opinion. Detachment does not mean you stop caring about people. It means your internal state stops being hostage to their behavior. This single shift changes everything. Once your peace no longer depends on someone else's actions, that person loses their leverage over you completely. They can stay, they can leave, and either way, you remain standing exactly where you were. So why does this feel so difficult for most people? Why do intelligent, capable adults still fall apart when someone pulls away, criticizes them, or simply stops responding? The answer sits inside a concept the Stoics understood 2,000 years ago. It is called the dichotomy of control. In simple terms, everything in life falls into one of two categories: things you control, and things you do not. You control your effort, your reactions, your standards, and your choices. You do not control other people's feelings, decisions, timing, or opinions of you. Most emotional suffering comes from one single mistake: treating something you cannot control as if it were yours to manage. When someone pulls away, the untrained mind immediately tries to fix it. It sends extra messages. It over-explains. It performs for approval that was never guaranteed to begin with. This reaction feels like love, but it is actually panic, because the mind has confused another person's behavior with its own responsibility. There is a second force at play here, something psychologists call ego protection. Your identity, without you realizing it, often becomes fused with how others treat you. If someone respects you, your ego feels stable. If someone ignores you, your ego feels threatened, even if nothing in your actual life has changed. This is why rejection feels like danger, even when it costs you nothing real. Your ego is not protecting your life. It is protecting an image of yourself that depends entirely on outside validation. Strip that validation away, and the untrained mind experiences it as a kind of death, even though nothing was ever actually lost. The detached mind operates differently. It separates identity from external feedback completely. Someone can love you or leave you, and your sense of self remains exactly where it started, because it was never built on their opinion to begin with. There is also a quieter trap called approval seeking, and it operates in the background of almost every relationship you have. Every time you soften your opinion to avoid conflict, every time you say yes when you mean no, you are trading your own authority for someone else's temporary comfort with you. Approval seeking feels safe in the moment. Over time, it slowly transfers control of your emotional state into other people's hands. You start living as a reaction to everyone else instead of as the author of your own decisions. Your calendar fills with obligations you never wanted. Your opinions soften into whatever keeps the room comfortable. Piece by piece, the version of you that other people find easiest to manage replaces the version of you that actually exists. Detachment does not eliminate emotion. It removes the leash. You still feel. You simply stop letting those feelings dictate your behavior toward people who have not earned that level of influence over you. Consider how this plays out in practice. Someone stops replying as quickly as they used to. The attached mind spirals immediately. It replays old conversations, searching for a mistake. It drafts and deletes messages, calculating exactly how much concern to show without looking desperate. Hours disappear into a problem that may not even exist. The detached mind notices the same silence and does something entirely different. It waits. It continues its day exactly as planned. If there is a genuine issue, it will surface on its own, and it can be addressed then, from a position of calm rather than panic. Nothing is lost by refusing to chase a ghost. Look at where this pattern actually plays out, because it is not confined to romance. It shows up everywhere attachment quietly takes the wheel. At work, the untrained mind cannot separate its output from a manager's mood. One short email reads as disapproval. One skipped greeting in the hallway becomes evidence of some invisible failure. Entire afternoons get spent decoding tone that was never actually loaded with meaning in the first place. In friendship, it shows up as counting. Who messaged first? Who initiated the last 3 plans? Whether affection is being returned in equal measure. None of this is friendship. It is accounting, dressed up as connection, and it collapses the moment the numbers stop adding up in your favor. In family, it shows up as guilt used as leverage, accepted without question, generation after generation, because nobody in the room was ever taught that a request is not the same thing as an obligation. Notice the common thread. In every case, someone else's behavior became the deciding vote on how the day would feel. That is the exact mechanism detachment is built to shut down. Now let us talk about the cost. Not the dramatic cost. The slow one that most people never notice until years have passed. A person who never learns detachment spends their entire life reactive. Every relationship becomes a small negotiation for their own stability. Every silence from another person becomes an emergency that must be solved immediately. Over time, this creates a specific kind of exhaustion. Not physical tiredness, but a constant background hum of anxiety, always monitoring how others feel about them, always adjusting to keep the peace. Worse, this person becomes easy to manipulate. Anyone who understands that your calm depends on their behavior now holds a remote control to your emotions. They do not need to threaten you. They simply need to withdraw warmth, and you will bend. This is not a character flaw. It is a predictable outcome of an untrained mind. And it ends the same way almost every time. A person who is respected on the surface, but quietly controlled underneath, by anyone willing to apply just enough emotional pressure. Now, let us take back control. Here are 2 rules. Not suggestions. Rules. Rule number 1. Judge yourself only on your own actions, never on other people's reactions. This rule works because it removes an entire category of things you were never meant to control in the first place. Someone's mood, someone's silence, someone's decision to leave, none of that reflects your worth. It reflects their own internal state, which belongs entirely to them. Starting today, apply this test before reacting to anyone's behavior. Ask yourself one question. Did I act with integrity, based on my own standards? If the answer is yes, stop there. Do not chase an explanation for someone else's behavior that was never yours to control. Write the standard down if you need to. Refer back to it every time your mind starts drafting an apology for something you did not actually do wrong. Rule number 2. Let people leave without performing to keep them. The moment you catch yourself over-explaining, over-apologizing, or increasing effort just to prevent someone from pulling away, stop immediately. That instinct is not love. It is fear wearing love's clothing. Starting today, practice this. When someone distances themselves, resist the urge to close that gap with extra words or extra effort. Let the silence sit. Let the distance exist. If they return on their own decision, not because you performed for it. This single habit will filter your relationships permanently. The people who only stayed because you chased them will disappear. The people who stay anyway, without being chased, are the only ones worth keeping in the first place. This is the core of detachment. Not coldness. Not cruelty. Simply this. Your emotional state is no longer available for rent to anyone who has not earned permanent residence in your life. A person who does not need you to stay is a person you can never trap, guilt, or manipulate. That is not an accident. That is the entire point. Detachment is not something you decide once and then possess forever. It is a muscle, trained in small moments most people dismiss as too minor to matter. The urge to check if someone has read your message. The urge to explain a decision nobody actually questioned. The urge to fill silence with reassurance nobody asked for. Every time you notice that urge and let it pass without acting on it, the muscle gets slightly stronger, and the leash gets slightly shorter. This is why the detached mind is often mistaken for cold. It is not cold. It is simply no longer negotiating for permission to feel stable. Warmth is still there when it is earned and offered freely. What is gone is the desperation, the performance, the constant low-grade audition for approval that was never guaranteed in the first place. Understand what this actually builds over time. Not a man who feels nothing. A man whose center of gravity sits inside himself instead of inside everyone else's opinion of him. That is the entire difference between a person who reacts to life and a person who moves through it on their own terms. So here is the final thought to sit with, in silence, long after this video ends. The people who truly value you were never testing whether you would chase them. They were simply present, without needing to be chased at all. Test this over the next 7 days. Pick one relationship where you have been chasing, explaining, or performing for approval. Stop. Just for a week. Say what you mean, do what you planned, and let their reaction be entirely their own business. Watch what happens to your own mood on the days you are not managing someone else's opinion of you. That difference is the entire argument for detachment, and no amount of explanation will convince you the way that 1 week will. If you have the courage to face reality, subscribe to Villain POV. If not, go back to sleep.